What's up, fools? We got a rare out-of-character appearance. Nothing good comes from one of those, but give you a little ADHD speed run. No, the channel did not get demonetized, not yet. And no, this has nothing to do with any recent AI policies and YouTube's systems, all that age verification nonsense. I'm currently not affected by it, but I imagine there's going to have to be another one where I am, somewhere down the line, just like getting demonetized. That's all part of the process. As a filming, the bread and butter of this channel is on its 9th technical year and 8th full year, because calendars are weird. Counting the mainline bread and butter, there's 116 episodes, if you want to call them that, and that totals to about 41 hours. I think you know where this is going. And I'm sure you can infer that if you do something for 8-ish, pushing 9 years, you're going to lose your mind at some point. You know, that's kind of a marriage. And without incomprehensible yapping, I started YouTube in 2011. I can't prove anything until like mid-2015, which is still hardly provable because of tons of behind-the-scenes chaos, not worth elaborating. Most of that to prior what I do now has been lost to time, but I started what I do now in 2017. And yeah, I think it's safe to say I hit a permanent burnout in the last days of 2023. But starting in 2017 was like a third major creative reset for me. So I knew a fourth one would eventually come. 2024 was definitely a year, not really a year, closer to 9 months, but we'll say a year defined by homelessness anxiety. 2018 was also a year of fiscal fiascos, but panic mode had ran dry by the end of 23, which, not too good when you need it in 24. I mean, like, technically speaking, I don't want to say I was exactly out of the woods enough until like May of 25, actually. But that 9 months, let me tell you, that was 9 months of hell. And that year, nowhere else to go. I just kept doing the one thing I did most. Now, I'm not going to deny any monetary incentives. I'm an adult, you're an adult, or are lying about being an adult. But, with nowhere else to go, desperate times call for desperate measures. But obviously that didn't resolve much in the real world, mainly from the lack of targeting a general audience. And counting everything that got finished that year, not even counting things that were in some phase of completion by the 31st of December, over 12 hours of stuff was released. Yeah, buddy, I think that's missing like 38 hours of filler to be viable. I don't regret the hustle, but I regret plenty of creative decisions just on the basis of the homelessness anxiety and that point of just inevitable permanent burnout. Like, punk, I don't gotta take a break to eat dinner. I don't got any fucking food to begin with. That's like extra work time. Fuck it. And when you got that many problems going on in the real world, it can be hard to realize that, at times you're not exactly bringing your A game. And like that whole December of 24, I really began asking myself, at what point am I going to do something else? And I said to myself, like, the 48-hour mark of mainline projects before there's a new mainline project, I think would be a serviceable amount. That's what, like, 12 hours of something not viable, mainly from not targeting a general audience. That's just the incentive it further kind of created. In 2024, I had hit the 24-hour milestone, as well as the 100th episode milestone. So that naturally created the incentive, okay, don't even consider wrapping anything up until 200. That's just a labeling number. And given the increased runtime of singular episodes, if we want to call them that, additionally produced under time constraints, like a 200th would not be doable for like at least 5 years minimum. I mean, like, it took me like 8 years to make 100. But, with the since developed strategies of simultaneous production, better technology, extra sacrifices, some of which were privileges amongst extra time constraints, yeah, I could probably get like 84 more as of writing to fit that 200 incentive in like half a decade minimum. And yeah, like 13 years of the same show is less than 16 years, but by my own Defender standards, like, would that even be good in a year 13? The first 100 totaled about 39 hours, so if that was duplicated, that would be about 78. And 78, I don't think exactly fits a hellbent quality over quantity mindset. The extra emphasis of comedy getting stale also has to be elaborated. You know, if it's super over the top, is it gonna land by the 200th installment? You know, everything falls off eventually if it goes on forever. That's just a fact. But I guess if you're a member of the big numbers community, there'll be a 125th at the very least. And with the possibility of stale humor, you also have to factor in the lack of intentional general audience appeal, because another general audience channel just got hurt. So if that falls off, then it's not right for the right people. It's bad for everybody. You know what they say, you either die a villain or live long enough to become the user, or however it goes. Like, obviously, first you're gonna hit that permanent burnout at some point. I already fucking did. And it's gonna fall off at some point if there is no end point, no matter how much you insist on quality over quantity. You know, that's not gonna last forever. So in the final days of 2024, I settled on the 48-hour milestone, and hopefully that's 2 days over quality over quantity. And I'm not saying all that is good, that just be a narcissistic and inaccurate self-evaluation, but that was certainly the mentality, okay? And keep in mind, that's a show that could be considered an atrocity of a genre by many. Look, we've all made our bad videos, but I swear, even at the most burnt out or the least experienced, I swear I wasn't just throwing shit together in an afternoon. A big problem I have with my own genre. You know, in combination with the entire series chronology, the fact that only 5 people, counting myself, have ever done anything on it. 48 total hours was not an intended milestone prior, but 48 hours is a lot for me. And damn it, we've hit 41, so you know, that's getting kind of close. I did consider saving this plan until December of this year. You know, there's still a third of this year left, and I have even more stuff planned for this year. It is still priority even after the 8th anniversary. You know, 7 more hours this year done well, not thrown together in an afternoon. You know, that's obviously not going to be possible. Hell, I intend about 45 more minutes this month. We'll see what gets done, of course. So if all goes well, the 48-hour estimate milestone will likely be passed in 2026 and maybe even 2027. Which, you know, could maybe even be less than a year from now. Currently, I have a lot more time to write than anything, which isn't favorable, but it is productive in the long run, and I'd say I have about 4 of that 7 hours written, but just not time to adapt. So, naturally, there'll be plenty of 2025 leftovers and 26, because, you know, that's just a part of doing anything, and year after year after year, you know, dinners turning into breakfast. And, you know, I'd hate to just abruptly end what is practically a marriage to a game. Well, but what about that marriage, though? You know, you can't just walk away from that. Ain't no turning back. Well, that's where I settled on after the 48-hour milestone being the end of what I'm calling the priority era. I'm not gonna flat out officially walk away from the bread and butter, but it will not be priority in the slightest for the considerable future. And, you know, in my defense, you know, it was 48 hours of quantity over quality mentality. I didn't say it was good, you know, the mentality at least. These are not for everyone, they're for the right people. But it's just not gonna be priority after that 48 hours a decade in a making period. You know, that doesn't mean no more ever. But, you know, that's there for, like, fan service or just updates or something. Like I'd never forgive myself if I didn't come out of partial retirement to scream at the Garfield movie 2 for 8 minutes, you know. That Benji X Scarlet situation is probably going on forever. I'll have to be there for that. like a couple a year if I really feel like it, or there's potential with updates to do, or anything adjacent to that. Hell, like the deprioritization could be an opportunity for the quality over quantity incentives I'm so hell-bent on and have gotten so much shit for. Like, if there's an opportunity to truly do something that's never been done in comparison to the rest of the catalog, then, oh hell yeah, it's coming back for one night only. Trust me, there are things I've refused to waste potential on and never got made because, there was a true ultra-specific stopping me. And don't worry, there will be what's called a priority finale. I know that seems like a complete contradiction, but I never said I was following the rules, okay? So after that 48 hours, it's just going to be brought back on undisclosed occasion. So it is very much likely that Season 10 will be the last priority year on its 10th technical year and 9th full year. But like I said, the 2017 The Dr. X Henry Show, originally Dr. X Henry Game Reviews, I try not to brag, but I do think it is statistically disprovable to suggest that it isn't something for somebody. And, I think the right people damn well deserve to be warned about a deprioritization probably about a year in advance. Obviously, an extra 7 hours of quality over quantity won't be made overnight. But if all goes well, part of me thinks that those 7 remaining hours might just be doable. But, like I said, the channel isn't over, so what am I gonna do? Well, don't worry, it's still gonna be old school internet nonsense in the 2020s-ish for some reason. It will be foul-mouthed, it will be visually absurd, it will satirize culture. It will be a huge fuck-up on my part if the following afterward isn't a spiritual successor of some sort. I am intending to produce a crudely animated series, currently and originally titled Them Childreth Left Behind. Now, before I talk about any basic plans, I'm going to clarify how the hell I'm going to do this. Now, like I said, I don't target general audiences. This will not be for general audiences. It will not be for everyone. It will be for the right people. So, naturally, this will be executed without orthodox production values. What I think a lot of people try to do is that they try to bring the TV to the internet, which isn't a bad thing at all. We don't need the same 6 kitty companies running everything. But what I'm going to do is treat the internet like the internet, where you can get away with way more shit than a heavily regulated television network. Obviously, standard software will be used, but unorthodox methods will be developed in ways that are both absurdist and cost-effective. And, of course, visual irony will be less accessible when it comes to accessibility, but that's not the point. It's got to gatekeep itself for the right people. It's not 1995, standard technical stuff is available easily. I find most, software influencers to be, complete fucking narcissists, They're always acting to, the general public that, they can't do something that any literate 14-year-old could. So, if you analyze the current title, this will be a social satire of the American education system, showing what happens in the real world when the system fails students. Each episode satirizing a flaw and subsequently leading to tragedy. And of course, resetting at the end because it's a cartoon, why the fuck not? All in a way that's silly, so, at the end of the day, it doesn't come off as pretentious or edge without substance. We're not doing TV on the internet, we're doing internet on the internet. It's still a shitpost, and shitposting is quite the effective method for cost-effective and lack of over-perfection. It's just gonna be there to have a laugh at what we all know is really going on a local scale. As an example of a plot line, I intend for a debut involving pointless busy work leading to frustration, which eventually incurs a... for example, I intend for the debut to involve pointless busy work leading to frustration, which results in a failed bank robbery and a death of a youngster. And, it's not like they knew any better to not bring a gun on a public transit. And, why? Because, that system left them children behind. They need their broken English corrected. After all, who the fuck goes to the library anymore? Ain't no speech therapy in this piece. There's no way to even fucking pronounce the title correctly. Just the spelling, because you can't avoid transcription, but, it's the internet. Who says we have to have a distinguished pronunciation? We don't gotta do that part. Some of you might know this, but I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, but I mainly grew up in Cleveland. I've made tons of inconsequential cultural references before. The right people will notice those. And Cleveland, Ohio is a city that started experiencing significant population decline after the 1950s, which historians mainly attribute to a loss of industry. And, when there's no jobs, punks start losing their mind. But in the early 20th century, it was ranked as one of the biggest cities in America. So it's only appropriate that the portrayal of far past its economic prime city looks like complete shit on purpose because it's a shit post. How would it be visually substantiated? If you drive at the speed limit, you're gonna fucking crash because there's so many potholes, It's just kind of loosely adapting absurdist true stories, and said streets in the stories ain't looking too good. And you gotta cross that street to go to the school that's gonna set you up for living on the streets by design. So why should the damn show be cemented in every aspect? What I intend for the main ensemble's dynamic was actually inspired by Cleveland's finest Jackson 5 knockoff from the early 70s, the Ponderosa Twins +1. And these were kids in the 70s, so two of the members are in prison as we speak, and then two of them died, and one of them turned out okay. And that's a tragedy, but that's also an absurd tragedy, so why not take the absurdity out of those types of stories of the life of the youth in those kind of neighborhoods, and finding humor in very preventable types of local chaos, presented chaotically and unprofessionally, and to not click with everyone. It's likely that two people wouldn't be in prison and dead if they didn't make this fucking Jackson 5 knockoff. But how would the youngsters know any better not to sign that type of contract? They set them up for that. The label thought they could be Motown in Detroit, but you're the whatever obscure label you were in Cleveland, I'm not going to do any sort of crowdfunding at the moment, mainly because that would be a waste of time. Reaching any goal would just be fiscally impossible. And why should a shit post with canonical social class awareness have a budget? It's a shit post. That sounds like a recipe for fucking up with Photoshop. And, the software influencers, they gaslight people into limiting creativity. Oh, you need the big dog shit to do that. No, dude, just do it in Photoshop. Who the fuck cares, man? And, hey, if you're the right person and you like the sound of that, well, guess what? There'll be 48 hours of a show with similar qualities, and if you can call them qualities, and that's fiscally supportable. This was conceived in mid-2019, specifically as a reworking of something I made in 2015. That's lost media per usual. And, comparing the 19 to the 15, not much carried over behind the satirical and chaotic edge. But it's never been something I've had the time to develop as a thorough shit post because I've been so busy with the bread and butter the past 8 years. So what became priority in 2017, and to this day, I do not intend to be priority in 2027. It won't be dead in 2027, 8 years is a marriage, you can't ever not, ever. Again, man, the fucking Garfield movie too. But I imagine it might not be priority after 2026, so I can finally do what I intended since 2019. And after that late 2023 period of permanent burnout, I've only had way more ideas for this than what started in 17. And, if I did 48 hours or something, a decade in the making. Well, I'm ready for a new shitpost hell. Like, them children left behind gonna be hell, no doubt, but, it's time for a new type of hell, if you ask me. And again, I owe it to the right people to let you know a considerable period in advance. But, 7 more hours, then it's just not gonna be priority, because I got grander things planned. Hopefully that made sense. I learned the hard way that I can be kinda quite the incomprehensible yapper, mostly off script. But, after that 48 hours, it's time for a new hell for the right people.